Hi, today we're going to be talking about kids' health. And my really good friend Kelly has joined me today to talk about kids and immunity. Every mother, when kids go back to school, worry about viruses, etc., that will start being prevalent during the winter, especially. So I decided we're going to have a chat with Kelly, and her knowledge over the years has really amazed me. So this is why I invited her on. And I'm going to let her tell you all about herself and what she's qualified as.
It's really great to be here today, actually. Yeah, I'm a nurse. I'm a learning disability nurse by background and have been since, I think, 2013 now. Um, no, longer than that. So about 23 years. But I've also got a PhD in human science and psychology, and have thoroughly enjoyed a bit of a lifestyle medicine journey of late with my son because looking at his immunity has been really important to me, actually.
Yeah, that's
So it's
great.
been great.
So, shall we start by discussing exactly how the immune system works, the actual functionality of an immune system for those that are not aware of the immune system? Just, you put in your bit and then I'll mention anything I want to.
Oh, Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's our biggest form of defense, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's from everything inside your body right out to the biggest organ. And I
Skin.
think really it's of the skin. Um, and I don't think people really thought about skin being such a barrier and such a big part of our immunity right up until COVID, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
where washing hands had to be taught to a nation and the importance of good skincare and making sure you're not full of lesions and cuts and making sure that skin is nice and supple and permeable, make sure it gives you that barrier really to everything we put in our body and making sure we've got good gut health. And I don't mean things like having a bad tummy, like, you know, diarrhea. I just literally mean making sure that that gut biome is as healthy as it can be,
Yeah. One of the things
because
that
that's
I've
that's different.
One of the things I've always said is people think that their skin is a glove and forget exactly how permeable skin is. I mean, all the chemicals we spray, and, I mean, I'll be honest with you, watching people putting all that antibacterial stuff on their hand, which was just drip feeding antibiotics into us, okay, in a very minuscule amount, but some people were using antibac to a ridiculous extent. And we don't realize that, we're basically just making, one way of making something stronger is to drip feed it the poison. So the antibacterial stuff that was supposed to kill these bacteria, we were just drip feeding it so that it became resistant to it. And then we wonder why we suddenly got superbugs and why the viruses and the bacteria are so strong now. It's because we've trained them to be resistant to the stuff that's meant to kill them.
I don't think the government really knew what to do, did they? So they
Exactly.
just went nearest thing. And I get that alcohol works in
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah.
but if they, those scientists that were on telly talking about it, they were the ones that should have been listened to the most because yeah, there's already, isn't there, sort of antivirals and bacteria that are actually
Resistant.
alcohol resistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the more we just added to that with a very small, I know it was a big world disaster. However, it's a very small virus, really. Um,
Everybody was scared.
yeah, I mean, I had to be in with my son for 15 months. And yes, I was one of those people that baked banana bread and all the other breads in between. Just to keep the world going in my home with something new,
Yeah,
really.
and funny you mentioned the microbiome, and I mean, as you know, I've done a diploma in the gut, and um, one of the things that was, we're all always told, your immune system resides in your gut, and it was very well put because yes, your skin, you know, it gets environmental toxins, what you spray on, you know, even the clothes you wear and whatever, your skin is being bombarded. But your gut is also being bombarded. Every time we eat, it's being bombarded with, you know, if
Mm.
you think about it, which organ in our body has to fight the most amount of invasive stuff? It's your gut, it's your stomach, it's your small intestine, it's your colon. And keeping your gut functioning well is such an integral part of your immune system. And I found that just fascinating. And I'm going to share my personal story, and then I'll let you share yours. And we realized at some point that my grandson was having issues with his gut. He had a rash. We went to a naturopath, and the naturopath basically said that, you know, we needed to fix his gut. So we took him off sugar, we took him off gluten, we took him off dairy, and we bombarded him with a high quality omega-3 supplement to bring down the inflammation, and we gave him loads of prebiotics. And we were very lucky. Soon his gut fixed. And what I found amazing is we were there fixing his gut and this rash, etc. And he had warts on his hands. And we had been thinking about getting them frozen. Some people suggested cryogen, you know, that cryotherapy, I think it's called, that we get these warts frozen off. And we fixed his gut, and those warts literally fell off.
Incredible, isn't it?
I mean, who would have thought that?
Yeah, no, not at all. Absolutely brilliant when you showed me those pictures. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
But yeah, and what about your experience with Jack?
So my little boy Jack, as you know, but I'll sort of say he's got Down syndrome, and he's got trisomy 21, which actually means it's in all of his cells. There's a couple of different types. So he's got he's actually really lucky where he doesn't have lots of well, actually he's really lucky that he doesn't have the hole in the heart. That's probably the only thing he didn't have, because he's and he's really lucky that he's got us, people like myself and you guys, that I can turn to around him really to help with things. Because so when I was pregnant, I didn't have the easiest of labors. I actually caught a virus during my labor, and they still don't know today what that was, but I gave it to him as well. And so for 7 days, I had to inject myself 3 times a day with high levels of antibiotics, and he had to have nasal intravenous antibiotics as well. And I just think that's, as much as he's had the best start paternally, he's you know, nurturing, he's just had the worst start chemically, really.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that
White is good
didn't
bacteria,
help.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like napalm, isn't it, going into your system? It
Yeah, because
just
it doesn't see, oh,
it
that's
wipes
good
out.
bacteria, I leave it alone, and that's bad bacteria, that's what I go for. It just goes shh,
Yeah, and we've
antibiotic.
got a baby that's, you know, hours old, who then they've gone, well, actually, we need to treat him now because you're on it. And I just think that's had such an impact on him, really, because he then turned into a child who, by what did I write down? So he was really young. I mean, a matter of sort of 6 months, he then developed this rash in his entirety, and it was red raw as well. And it rapidly went away from his face because we went to dermatology, as you do, you get hold of your health visitor and things. And they did an emergency referral, took us up there, and they were just like, yeah, you know, it's something that he's going to get because he's ill all the time. Is he ill all the time? Yes, I said. We'd started going to baby groups by then. And within a matter of weeks, he just picked up these, what seemed like colds, so therefore viruses. And the poor boy just didn't have a break. He just had a virus upon virus upon virus. And I mean, literally, you could tell that he'd rolled into another one, and it was just without break in between. So this virus, they said, was probably like an autoimmune response. Well, if it's an autoimmune response, that means his immune system isn't working, doesn't it? And
Correct.
therefore, yeah, use these creams and use this steroid and use this. And we're talking about like a 6-month-old baby still. And I was just like racking my brains thinking, well, okay, I'm going to use something. I'm going to use this because I have to help my son. But inside, I'm just like, I can't do this to him, not long term. So immediately it did take away the rash that was sort of on his face, and it helped his hands, and also it basically retracted it to like his torso. But all the while, I'm just thinking this has to be something to do with the illness, the antibiotics,
In fairness,
and
what we're
therefore,
saying is don't never give your child antibiotics. That child needed the antibiotics. We're just talking
absolutely,
about, and knowing what you and I know today, we would have handled the whole thing differently. We would have been pumping him with probiotics and doing all that. Obviously,
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
didn't
and
have
there's
knowledge of,
definitely a place. Yeah,
yeah,
there's definitely a place for acute care,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's definitely a place for antibiotics. And I think, then, after he was born, they had no choice to look at the antibiotics.
They
It's
had to.
not that anything
Yeah,
done wrong.
yeah.
It's that you, in hindsight, which is always the
The
best, isn't it?
aftercare would have been different, which knowing what we both know today.
Yeah. And that's 11 years ago, exactly.
Yeah.
And
We've come
3 years
on
down the line,
leaps and
yeah,
bounds.
3 years down the line, knowing what we know with using different things for diet and omega-3s and prebiotics, it's literally a different world that we work with now.
We've discussed that the immune system, to look after the immune system, we have to look after the gut. That is one of the key things because 70% of your immune system lives in the gut. Okay, so let's talk a little about gut care. And now we're dealing with kids who have very specific dietary, let's say, yeah, the best one was my grandson. He was given a dinner and he said, turns around to his mom and says, I didn't order that.
I didn't order that.
Yeah, 5 years old. So, they're very much, and what doesn't help also is the amount of advertising that's done to kids, and all the products and the peer
It's
pressure,
everything.
it's just crazy. But,
I mean, just try and watch anything on YouTube now where one half of the screen is actually the program he's watching, and the other half of the screen on the same thing is cake, crisps, chocolate. Prime is the bane of my life at the moment. This child just wants so much prime.
the constant battle, obviously, the biggest elephant in the room is sugar, and how do you deny young kids sugar? It's a complete nightmare. And one of the things that I learned is also that artificial sweeteners are in a whole different ball game as well, because as much as you think, okay, I'm going to give artificial sweeteners, most of them are chemical and are toxic. I'll let you talk about that.
I mean, I've got to be honest, I fell for that one as well, wanting to get Jack
Me too.
away from sugar.
Me too.
So immediately right over to let's just try everything with non-added sugar. Um, and it wasn't until my actual learning has been a lot to do with a lot of the doctors I've been researching, through sort of originally finding them on YouTube and things. And one of the doctors that I came across, and he was a specialist looking within the gut. So he would take in the cameras and things, and he was just looking at the different sweeteners, and the how it decayed the inner gut actually. And we've got some beautiful inside the gut, we've got some lovely little wavy bits and pieces that pass our food down, and they
Like,
absorb all the nutrients.
yeah.
um and he had used endoscopy and was done a fountain of research, and looking at those that had used, obviously this wasn't children, but it was adults at that point, they'd used laxatives,
Same effect.
and yeah, and others that had used sweeteners, been using sweeteners all the time.
Mhm.
And instead of their guts being beautifully sort of little fingers being able to move the nutrients and absorb them, they were just completely flat. they were just and sort of decaying, really, and there was no absorption going on.
So yeah, the effects of sugar, I mean, like it is the biggest evil for, you know, I consider it really, really bad for our immune system and depleting our immune system. I can't remember where I read it, but somewhere that if you eat a dose of sugar, your immune system's depressed for 5 hours afterwards. Let's think about natural sugars, right? And what is available, you know, so dates. So you're getting the sweetness, but you're also getting a big dose of nutrients and fiber. So, you know, soak dates in warm water, puree them, and you've got something that can sweeten something without, you know, causing havoc to insulin sensitivity and your gut. And one of the other ones that doesn't give a spike is monk fruit sweetener, but and it's not available readily in the UK. But dates in warm water and then pureed, and you've got date syrup. Now you can buy date syrup on Amazon, but I don't know how much of the fiber is still in it
Yeah.
in the thing. So that is one of my favorite things to use is dates. And my grandson just loves dates. So if, you know, if I'm giving him a treat, I'll give him a date now. And he's quite happy with a couple of dates. He doesn't need sweets. So it's all about retraining their brain. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, like if you go to a party and there's cake and cupcakes there, I mean, the guy will just attack the table because he doesn't get it at all.
The other way round. I mean, Jack's birthday is July, and I will have some sweets now, but I still put on. I mean, I buy one of the big watermelons, chop that up into
Yeah,
pieces. What's the other one we have a lot of here? Apricots and sultanas.
yeah. Sultanas
And
is
put
another
a
good
sort
one.
of.
Sultanas is another good one. Like he gets his muesli with sultanas in it instead of anything sweetening in it.
Yeah, and I was just, the kids were equally as into the watermelon and the sultanas as they were having the lollies. So if it's there
Yeah,
and on offer,
yeah.
I don't think I think the kids, they're because they're so open-minded, aren't they, a
They are.
child?
It's all about, you know, it's all about so one of the things we've done with him is because he's just gone back to school and we want to keep him off the sugar. So we've done a deal with him and we've said, right, Nanny, Mummy, Daddy, and Zane, nobody's eating sugar for 1 month. And he's getting a big reward at the end of it. So, you know, I'm not going to mention what the reward is, but you know, that's the way we've done it. And this morning when he got his muesli, there was some sultanas in it, and he was so scared of breaking this pact. You know, he was like, "Am I allowed sultanas?" And yes, yeah, you can have some sultanas. But you know, but the thing is that it's just giving his body a break for a while.
Yeah.
You know, it's giving his body a break. And the other thing I want to mention also is that so many kids love pasta. I mean, I have a granddaughter who will literally eat pasta with butter, nothing else. That's her favorite meal. And Zane loves pasta. He absolutely loves pasta. And what we've done is introduced him, you know, because white flour is nearly as bad as sugar, and pasta is made mostly of white flour. And so what we've done is we've introduced him to green lentil and red lentil pasta. And what I found is if you just boil the pasta, it's not as nice. So make sure that you boil the lentil pasta in salt and olive oil, drain it, and make sure it's still got a wee bit of an olive oil coating, and then put butter and just fry it a little bit. And you will be surprised how tasty it is. Yeah, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
And if your kid likes garlic, just add a crushed garlic clove just to give it that flavor. Zane loves garlic bread. So, you know, I put in a little bit of garlic and then I add the sauce or whatever else I'm adding to it. Because the pasta then isn't just as, I think it's because you know, he loves the flavor of butter. So he's quite happy if it's tasting more of a touch of garlic and butter, and then he's happy to eat it, you know. And if it's just boiled and salt, then it's like, no, even I wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
adding that bit of grass-fed butter need to emphasize that we need to use
Yeah,
grass-fed.
organic butter in our house. We've got goat's butter, organic butter, and we've
Yeah,
got normal. I do prefer to keep him on the goat's butter, because again with the milk, he gets too mucousy,
yeah,
so we keep that down.
yeah.
But with the sugar, I mean, Jack's thing actually is bread. He will have a sandwich every day for breakfast. So his thing, my thing there has been more the hidden sugars actually,
Yeah.
because
And the palm
I've
oil.
been able, yeah, I've been able to balance out the argument with not having sweets and sugar and stuff. And thankfully, school policy now is no sugar, no crisps, no chocolate.
Wow.
Yeah, no
Wow.
chocolate, no crisps, and no nuts. Sorry, not no sugar, no chocolate, no crisps, and no nuts. So his packed lunch is quite good, and he loves fruit. So today snacks have been so again, and I buy things appealing to a child. So we've got the mini cucumbers, we've got the tomato, the what
Cherry.
I call toy tomatoes, not what are they called, cherry, and the baby tomatoes. But we've got the color range, so we've got the purple ones, the yellow ones, the
Yeah, and it makes the plate look colorful and
yeah, it makes his packed lunch look like, that could almost be a tray full of sweets,
yes.
because then he's got his little pot of we had blueberries, grapes, and raspberries in one pot today. And then we had a chopped tomato and a couple of mini cucumbers in another one.
And the cucumber
But
gives them the crunch.
yeah, so I sort of quarter lengthwise the cucumber. So again, it's looking a bit different. The tomato is cut in whatever shape he chooses to cut it into, which is quite fun in the mornings doing that. But the bread is one that does it for me. I mean, there should be 5 ingredients in our bread, and yes, I appreciate a little bit of sugar catalyst, but we don't need, I mean, my bread now has got about 20
I'm
ingredients in
going to
it.
give Jason Sardo a plug because and he also has, I mean, one of the things I always talked about is sprouted grains. Just sprouting the grains not only gives them more nutrition, but it also removes any phytates, etc. And he's got a sprouted grain sardo, and he's got, I don't know if you get Jason's where you are, because it's not rolled out everywhere, but it's definitely available in England, and it's available in Waitrose and Sainsbury's. Now, it's a 3-4 ingredient. Barnett Bakery and Jason's is a 3 or 4 ingredient sardo.
I'm gonna write that down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's got the sprouted grain, and he does have a white one, but I tend to go for the sprouted grain would be my favorite. And what I found is if you kind of what I've started to do with Zane is to fry the bread off in a little bit of butter and soften it. The reason they like the other bread is the softness. Sourdough is not just as soft. So if you kind, just a little bit of butter, steam it a little bit, it does soften it, but you can't use that as a sandwich, unfortunately. And one of his favorite things is what he calls a packed lunch. You go to Waitrose and you get a packed lunch, and it's got the sandwich, it's got the fruit, it's got the biscuit, and that's one of his treats. And we've basically said to him, right, no sandwich for a month per guy. But he's going to get sardo. Like, we will give him sardo. And one of the things I want to point out to parents, as much as they think that they're being healthy by using gluten-free, please read the ingredients of everything that you purchase and everything you use. Because when I started reading the ingredients, the first thing I stopped doing was buying gluten-free bread, because it is crap. Yes, it hasn't
So
got
many
gluten, but
extras
it's got everything else.
yeah, the amount of emulsifiers and stabilizers and food industries, they're just so crafty as well. It's you used to be able to find a pleasant word, and now you can't. Now it's E472A, as I found with rapeseed oil, and they're just changing it. And I recently had an article about food industries not even. I thought a label of ingredients was a must, and I thought that was quite fact. And now I'm finding that they don't even have to write bog standard details on there. They kind of only need to write the ones that you might be allergic to and the bulk of ingredients. And so they don't even really need to put all of the
Yeah,
ingredients
if
down.
there's a
And that's
small
just so
amount of
wrong.
something, they don't have to mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just changing labels or I mean, the classic of that to me is a Diet Coke. You read a Diet Coke with all their green labels, and allegedly you would be able to live off that the rest of your life because it's all green. You know, the little traffic
Yeah,
light system that
yeah,
they brought out.
yeah, yeah. Sainsbury's got it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that's just going to ruin everything, isn't it? That's everything we've just talked about. That's your sweeteners, that's all of your extra chemicals in there. And that's going to ruin the
One of the
guts,
things
the
I learned on my,
intestine, the
yeah,
brain,
yeah.
the
One of
children. It's no wonder that children, I look around now and I don't remember seeing so many kids with glasses. I don't remember seeing so many kids, as in eyeglasses, visually to see. I don't remember seeing so many kids with behavior escalations. And I'm a learning disability nurse, and I've done that in the learning disability sector since I was maybe about 18, and I'm 48 now. And I don't remember seeing so many children with a diagnosis of risky behavior, of elevated antisocial behavior, of what was classed as challenging behavior, where they just cannot stop being impulsive and aggressive and those sorts of things.
yeah,
And you only got to look at data. ADHD and autism and that isn't new, and learning disabilities with my son, it's always been there. And there's so much data going back to the 1940s on if you were to put certain things in your diet, sort of the omega-3s, and improve the gut, it was all there. And then you look at like the 1990s, where all of that started to change a little bit regards to the food industry, more medications, more chemicals. And all of that research kind of went to the lay side, apart from a few people like Dr. Nemchek, people like that, who still continue to talk about it. And
yeah.
it's just kind of come full circle where they've gone, actually, we now see that all of this ultra processed food is raising
Absolutely,
inflammations everywhere,
absolutely,
including
absolutely.
with the brain. The child can no longer cope in school, expelled, whatever the words might be. And they've now created a different type of schooling, like these ACE schools, where a child can just attend for a few hours because from a sensory point, they just can't manage. But actually, if you went back to that original data, and even now the data that says raise all of these, essential fatty acids, have better food, the brain will stop being so inflamed. It will stop being on such high alert. And kids with learning disabilities and autism and all of those other things will just be able to start managing better in society.
Correct.
Nobody's saying it's taking those things away. What we're saying, or what I'm certainly saying, definitely me, because I see it with Jack all the time, where I have calmed his brain and lowered his anxiety, he's just able to manage in the world. He
Yeah,
used to be out of class 3 to 4 times a day. And he doesn't even leave class once a week now because he just is able to
to stay
manage
calm.
in there. And
Yeah,
he's in a mainstream class.
yeah, yeah,
And it's completely down to how I've changed his diet and added in things.
yeah.
Um,
Let's talk prebiotics, Kelly. Let's talk prebiotics, because probiotics has been seems to be everybody's everybody's panacea for the gut. Oh yeah, okay. Yes, there's a room for probiotics. When you've had antibiotics, you have to have probiotics. And one of the
yeah,
things that we have to watch out for, that it's not 20 trillion bacteria and there's only 3 kinds. We have to look for a probiotic that has a variety, a minimum of at least 8 different strains. Going to some of them, I've seen good ones with 12 different strains in it. So it's not how many, it's the different strains that's important. And then we need the food, because what we eat determines the bacteria in our gut. So we then need the food for these bacteria to keep the gut healthy. And that's where prebiotics come in to take out the guesswork. So that if you're putting probiotics in, also put in the food to make those probiotics sustain in your gut, not that they come in. I mean, I love the way Paul Clayton put it. Do you remember his story about probiotics, about this few loveys that are created in it? I mean, just the way he painted the picture was so funny, that they created in a laboratory and they put in a capsule. Now, we don't know how long that capsule's been traveling or sitting in a shelf, some shelf or whatever. And then we take those little loveys and they have to then cope with the stomach acid. They then have to travel our small intestine to reach our colon to be faced with the bacteria that live in our gut, that already own our gut. And he's like, it's like sending the Girl Guides to fight an army, sending the supplies. And it was, I've never forgotten that story. It's just stuck in my brain. And every time somebody's saying to me, oh yeah, I always take probiotics, all I think is that story. It just stays there. I'll let you talk about prebiotics.
No, that's okay. I mean, yeah, if I'm talking to anybody about it, and sort of the difference between them, my analogy is a fish in a fish tank. If you imagine your guts being the tank, but if that tank is full of bleach, i.e., you haven't got a very good biome in there, so every time you put in a probiotic, is your goldfish. What happens to the goldfish?
They die.
It just dies. And every time. However, if you clean out that tank, i.e., add in your prebiotics first, and then you put your goldfish in, it's
Yeah,
got
very
a
good. I like that.
amount
I like that.
of food.
So
Yeah.
what nutrients, Kelly, what nutrients would you recommend? What are the essential nutrients? So everybody knows vitamin C. And what we did with Zane was give him a kiwi every morning to give him a high dose of vitamin C. What would you recommend, nutrients wise?
I think I think we've got to balance in, haven't we? Everything that's what would be a phytonutrient and micronutrient. So you're looking at bringing in your all of your greens, all of your nice green leafy vegetables, which again, all of these things are harder with children, but I hide everything, I've got to be honest. So if you can get in some onions, the garlics, all of the things you've just said, they're really good for your microbiome on a micronutrient level. You can get all of those in a macro, sorry. But what I found with Jack is that going back to having a child that really only wants to eat what his friends does, it was really, really difficult. So literally finding a prebiotic was what I needed to do. And you can
Takes the
find a good
guesswork
one.
out. Yeah.
It's all done for you. It also it takes out that burden, that burden as a parent, and takes away your guilt, because I was able to find a prebiotic that we both know,
Yeah.
and I hid it in a sandwich. I put it in his drinks.
The best
And
part
used
about
it
it is
everywhere.
it's indestructible and it can be, you can cook
Yeah.
with, you can make cookies
Potato.
if you want. Put it in your
I've never
banana
known
bread.
people to be cooked and it would stay the same. This is incredible, that what we use, because I can put it in his mashed potato. I use it in his scrambled egg in the morning.
Yeah.
I know that it's also allowing him to keep his glucose levels down. So a big thing with kids with Down
Insulin spike.
syndrome as well, that they their sugars become really irregulated. And one thing that he's quite vulnerable to is the potential of type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
Now, and with kids with Down syndrome, unfortunately, they don't get to do something nice like just change their diet. As soon as they're diagnosed with it, they have to go on insulin. And that's not something I wanted for him.
Yeah.
So I know by putting in some of my beautiful prebiotic sprinkles in the morning, I don't have to worry about finding places to hide the spinach and the celeriac. I don't have to worry about trying to get in him any fermented foods, because kids are a bit weird about those sort of flavors.
Yeah,
Because
they
after
are.
all,
They
fermented
are. You can't get sauerkraut into a child.
for gut You can't get anywhere near them, can you?
Oh,
Unless you find
kefir,
a child that
kefir, kefir is a good one because they like yogurt. And now we're very lucky that there is kefirs available. So I would recommend kefirs. And we actually give Zane kefir. I don't mind mentioning the brand Cocoa, And what we do is we put his prebiotic in the cocoa and we give it to him. It's coconut based, it's got no sugar, and it's got a slight fruit flavor. And you put the prebiotic in it, and it's almost like a yogurt then. And and I've actually seen kefir on supermarket shelves that have 12 strain of bacteria on it. Can't remember exactly which brand, so I'm not going to take the name. But read, even when you are buying your probiotic yogurt, look and see how many strains of bacteria are in it,
Mm.
And what I
And
also
be careful the level of sugar in some of them. Some of those
absolutely
other
no, we go for the
are,
sugar-free ones. Yeah.
yeah,
But
are not so great.
change your brand all the time because you will get different strains that way as well. Because I always remember my mum, like she always made we had fresh homemade yogurt in India every day. Lunch and dinner, you got your dose of yogurt. But see, every 3 or 4 months, she would change her culture. She would go and get her friends would swap cultures, and now you notice these things and you don't register them. But now I'm aware why she was doing that. They just swapped cultures because in different houses, different bacteria proliferate and, different things. And it was just
They're
culturally.
just things like Jack will eat. He'll actually have, what am I trying to say? A virgin olive oil on a bit of bit of salad. So he'll actually eat that. So
The polyphenols so
that's
important.
really good with the
Yeah.
polyphenols. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the gut. He does eat a lot. I actually buy, so mine here is more the natural yogurts. So I will buy a natural yogurt, or a Greek yogurt, all again natural. There's
So where we
nothing in
have
it.
to be
And
careful is we have to make sure that it's a probiotic yogurt. And even when you're buying Greek yogurt, it must be Greek yogurt and not Greek style
not
or Greek
style.
recipe.
Yeah.
Have to watch out for that. You have to watch out for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, I was caught out like that a little while ago. I changed my brand, and was having what I thought was a Greek yogurt, and it was only just tiny little on the side, Greek style,
Yeah.
which, yeah, means it's full of other things.
And not
Um,
as high in protein and not as high in good bacteria. Yeah. Yeah.
and also when you're buying as well, the Greek yogurt, don't go buying the zero fat.
Oh yeah.
You full fat, we want all of those beautiful
Yeah.
fats to be going in as well, because the saturated fats give a lovely coating in the gut as well. And some of
Yeah.
those microbiome use that before then
Exactly.
taking
They
on a
feed
load
on
of
that fat.
fibers
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So like Jack's is, so he loves actually homemade yogurt, and we do homemade ice cream now. It's not ice cream as in an ice cream maker, but it's frozen fruit, which again, check the ingredients, because some of those frozen fruits have high citric acid, high sugar,
Yeah.
but some of them are brilliant. Even in places like Lidl's, some of them are really, really good. And so we waz up the fruit, and in goes either some maple syrup organic or some organic honey, so maybe some manuka.
Yeah.
Because
Raw honey
again,
is
that's
good.
got,
Yeah, you don't want processed honey can be processed as well. I love it when we use local honey because local honey has
yeah,
so many benefits. A, it won't be processed. B, it will make you resistant to the pollen strains that are in your area. So try, most health food shops have local honey.
yeah, yeah. So we've got a beautiful Jana honey down here at Plymouth, and Black Dog honey, and that's another one that I use here. But yeah, again, I didn't realize until this journey either that many honeys were just corn syrup, and so therefore nothing good for you at all.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and
I'm a big
the
fan.
organic syrup is a good one as well, because you've got a lot of antioxidants in there coming natural from the tree. You've got your phytonutrients in there, so you can make a beautiful spread. Our yogurts are about that deep,
Yeah.
full of all of those things, and he loves it.
Yeah, and what I
Ah,
would suggest if you want to give your kid a bit of an immune boost is also just get your garlic, chop it, leave it for 15 minutes. Cutting your garlic and letting oxygen and the air hit it actually improves that. And then what I do is slightly roast it just to take the absolute sharpness of it, and then mash it and put
Nice
it
and sweet.
into raw honey. So if somebody's got a sore throat or something, you know, if you feel a bit of a tickle and you take a spoonful of that garlic and raw honey, let's trickle it down your throat, it's good for you.
Well, that's one that I haven't had and I will be trying with Jack. So that's a great tip there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an immune booster. You know, you can
Yeah.
have it as an immune booster. So Kelly, let's talk about stuff that will help us improve the immune system. We talked about vitamin C and kiwis and all. I mean, everybody knows vitamin C and what foods contain vitamin C. One of the things that I was surprised to learn was that choline helped with the immune system. So, what way would choline help the immune system?
So, I mean, choline, which there's a couple of good sources of that, which mainly is eggs, really, that you're
Egg
probably going
yolks.
to get in kids.
Yeah, egg yolks more than
That's the main one. I mean, I can get eggs in Jack no matter what, really, because they're fun as well, aren't they?
yeah,
But they helps with our T cells and our immunity. So T cells, they are key fighters, really. They're the ones that are going to come in with the guns, and they're for your adaptive immunity.
yeah,
So they're the ones that when we catch a cold, they're the ones that are going to come out first, or with our sort of B cells. And the T cells have got memory as well. So they're going to help us take on that virus, recognize what it's like, and they're going to help us adapt to move forward for when we get it again. So they're the ones that the next time we get exactly the same cold, we go, okay, we haven't got 10 days in bed. We're just going to have a snivel.
yeah,
So a good source of choline is like I say, is eggs. I mean, it used to also be back in the day, it would have been with our nans and everything. It would have been a good old liver and bacon on the plate and other offal, really. But
now with the nitrates and
not,
all, you have to watch
not
it.
sure I, yeah, not sure I've ever seen liver and bacon on a menu as
Yeah,
such.
and wild salmon
It's
would have choline as well.
pardon?
Wild salmon would have choline as well, but you know, yeah, it's fun getting wild salmon into a kid, especially what you pay for it, and then if they don't eat it, you're like, ah.
Yeah, I was just going to say the expense is more, isn't
Yeah,
it? I mean, wild salmon in a tin is a little bit cheaper, but I can't get cold salmon anywhere near Jack.
yeah,
I can get hot salmon near him. That's
yeah.
so much better.
Yeah, and then wild
And
salmon also has the omega-3s, which are so important.
yeah, it's a good source at that point, isn't it? Of your vitamin B12 and your proteins. You just can't beat it. But the choline, it also supports your brain function, and part of your immunity, is in your brain as well, because that's
True.
where your brain tells your body what you
What you
do.
up to?
It's linked up. It tells the body when to be selling out, sending out all of these new cells. So, and if we haven't got a good source of those things, if we haven't got a good cellular health,
Yes.
then how can we be fighting
Yeah,
off any
because
immunity?
what are we made of? We're made of cells, and we need every cell to function properly, and every cell knows what it's doing. The body's smart. We just have to support it in being
Yeah.
able to support the cells we have and be able to regenerate cells. Because tell me again, how often do cells regenerate and all that, and how often?
20 days, isn't it, that we've got like a cell
Yeah,
regeneration. But if we're going, that's
red
just
blood
from
cell.
birth to, isn't it? If you then going to look at a rebirth again, you've got to be looking at sort of 5 months, really. So if you're going to be looking at making any dietary changes, this is a nice thing to do. Diet's got such a poor word, hasn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
And if you if you really want to invest in something, a new car is not the way to go. Investing in your children
And the
and
health.
learning their food and where it comes from. I know some kids in Jack's school, and as I say, he's in a mainstream school. He might have Down syndrome, but he's in a mainstream school. And they did not know that KFC was a chicken. They did not know, I don't expect the child to know, or even the parent, that there is choline in their eggs, but a child should know that an egg comes from a chicken. And where these things, develop from. And it's a shame because there's no education behind food or anything anymore.
No.
And again, a nice easy
Economics.
way. Yeah, there's nothing, what is it? Art, music, cooking, all of that is taught once every 2 to 3 weeks. And yet the world is screaming, saying mental health is the highest it's ever been. Families are more disconnected than ever. So you can't say to the world, we are sicker than ever. There are 99% more foods on the shelves than there ever was. And we are 95% more diseases in children as well.
Yeah.
Young children. And I never saw, there was only when I was at school, the odd one that ever had cancer, that ever had diabetes. And now you are going into classes and you have got a class of 30. And I reckon there's 15 children with glasses, wearing glasses. I reckon there are 4 children in Jack's class who do have autism or the behaviors that challenge.
Or on the
You
spectrum.
know? Yeah. There are many that are type 2 diabetic. They have got so many intolerances. It's ridiculous that they can't eat certain foods. And we've done this as a nation. The food industry has done this.
Has done this. And it's us. And I'll be honest with you, I only really started reading labels in the last 10 years. That's when I started reading food labels, like really, reading food labels. Before that, we always seem to think there's somebody somewhere looking after us, that, the government is there. And what we've got to realize, we are the gatekeepers of our home. We are the gatekeepers of what brings in and what we feed our kids and what we feed our families. Personal responsibility has to come back into it. Somebody's not going to, out there is not going to look after us. Back to nutrition. So we talked about vitamin C, we talked about choline. What about zinc? Zinc, and I only became aware how important zinc was during the pandemic.
Well, you just took the words out of my mouth, really. I was just going to say, with the whole heightened skin elevation, really, with COVID, I think zinc really came into its own, didn't it?
It did. And everybody was aware of zinc. Yeah.
With the fact that it's just so good with, it helps to fight viruses, it helps to fight bacteria to start with, but it's also one of the micronutrients that we need to help support wound healing. And so, in the hospital,
kids need that. Kids need that.
In the hospitals, you get zinc dressings, and there's a reason for that as well, because it does help promote the wound healing and help with burns. And kids need that, tenfold, don't they? Especially it supports cell division. Our poor little kids, that's what they're doing tenfold,
and they're growing.
Day.
Because that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So, and that's where, choline and zinc, actually, they're a beautiful partnership, because they help support all of your vitamin Bs, they help support your vitamin Cs, they help with your cell division.
Yeah.
And again, what you were saying about self-responsibility, the food industry with the person, it's about bringing in all of those nice bits into your home. You might not be able to afford organic foods, but you might be able to get fresh foods, or if failing that, the tin foods, all of these nutrients.
Right here, if you cannot afford organic food, can I give you a little tip on that? So when you buy fruit and veg, right, things like bananas, avocados, I never buy organic, right? Now, where I would spend the money on organic would be berries, especially if my grandkids are having it, especially the baby, right? Because they're sprayed, and I have tried soaking strawberries, they get destroyed. But things like apples, things like, where the nutrition is still there in the skin and you don't really want to peel it off, what you do is you fill up a basin of water, either, good old malt vinegar or baking soda, soak them in that. And it'll not take everything out, but it will take most of the crap out of them. So
yes, you were saying that to me
don't
the
have
other
the
day.
money.
Very interested in that.
And
Yeah,
again, goes back to my mum. My mum always did that. She had these 3 big brass buckets. Everything that was bought was good. Now you can soak grapes, but if you soak strawberries or raspberries, you'll destroy them.
it is. Yeah,
There's
completely
no,
got.
yeah. But apples, pears, plums, peaches, they all can be soaked. And then make sure you dry them thoroughly, because if you leave them wet, they'll kind of, deteriorate. Just dry them thoroughly and they're ready to go. And do the
No,
same
that's
with veg. Do
it
the
is
same with veg.
affording what you can, isn't it? Because the beauty of doing that with your veg, you're going to be able to get in your sources of
Yeah.
all your nutrients, aren't you? All your
And you don't
phytonutrients. So
have to
you,
buy organic, don't spend the money on organic, but just make sure. And I am that finicky. I even wash my frozen veg. And it was actually it was one of my friends who's got a degree in nutrition. And she said to me, actually, frozen veg have more nutrients. I was always thought that, fresh is best. But she said, you don't know where it's picked. You don't know how long it's stored for. You don't know how long it's traveled. You don't know how long it's been on the supermarket shelf. And they're very smart. They know how long it's going to take. So they pick it where it's ripening in the process. But once it's picked, it's losing nutrients. And one of the things that Bird's Eye always says is that they pick and freeze within 24 hours. And when
yes,
that is done, the nutrients are frozen into it. But I rinse my frozen veg because I don't trust anybody to wash it. So I always put it in a sieve and give it a bit of a rinse and then use it. And it takes away that, that freezer moisture that gathers on some veg, and it takes that away. And, talk about convenience. That is convenient. How long does it take? You don't have to sit, chop, do anything. Just rinse it. And, if it's cauliflower or something, just let it sit in a bit of vinegar water, or, give it a rinse. And then how long does that take? And one of the things my grandchildren love, and I'm going to give you this recipe, you're going to love it. So what I do is I will boil cauliflower, right? And then I will add some cream to it and I will blend it, right? With a hand blender,
yeah.
handheld blender. You just make it into like a soupy thing. And guess what? You've got white sauce.
Oh, of course, yeah,
And then add a little bit of butter. And then I will do half cheddar and half Parmesan. And
yeah.
there's your cheese sauce. And they will never know that they had cauliflower.
No, that's so good.
Hiding
Good, good.
vegetables.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in that cauliflower sauce, you can put in your lentil pasta, etc., and all that and everything. You can put all that stuff in.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
really good.
yeah.
Is that's adding in
Remember to
everything.
add the butter, okay? Remember to add the butter, because in white sauce they get that butter and that, that kind of
Yeah,
toasty
that
flavor.
creamy.
So what I do is I heat the butter and give it that nuttiness and then add it in so it has that nutty taste, and then the cheese. And my grandkids have
That's
never known that they're eating pureed
no,
cauliflower.
and also it takes out that wheat
Yeah,
element
a week.
for
Yeah,
the
but
what did you just
nut
call it?
butter,
The
so nut brown
white
butter,
sauce. Yeah.
cauliflower, raw milk is what we use. Nut brown butter, cauliflower, raw milk, cheese. And I don't like to give too much cheddar. And so luckily my grandkids all like St. Agar, the blue cheese. So I'll add that. I'll add some Parmesan, which are more real cheeses. And then I'll
Yeah.
add a little bit of cheddar, because cheddar, they like that flavor of cheddar, but it's not just cheddar. It's a mixture of different cheeses. And they're getting a bit of probiotic with the blue cheese.
Mm.
And it's gorgeous. I mean, like my family love it. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's excellent. I will be stealing that one from you.
no problem.
Definitely.
No problem.
I
Is there
mean,
anything you want to add as a last thought for children and
not well, I think we've covered it all really, because it's just it starts from everything going in here, and we have to help their hearts. We're always told help the mind, send them to school, send them to school. And I've got to be honest, as much as education system, it's out there. We don't do enough. We need to help their hearts. We need to help their creativity, and we need to help their guts, what's going in their bodies,
yeah,
because you might be able to send your child to school and learn the best algebra in the world or pay for the best education, but actually, it is not going to stop them getting childhood cancers if you
Yeah.
don't change the way that, and that sounds extreme. And dementias, my Jack is prone to childhood, sorry, not childhood, early onset dementia from the age of about 30. And a big thing for me is about improving his brain. And I
Omega-3
don't mean
fats.
just
Yeah.
omega-3 fats, EPA, DHA, improving of beta carotenoids and the flavonoids, which all comes from everything we talked about with the, what are they called? Vegetables, the fruits, because those two things are anti-cancerous, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, improve the brain, improve the gut.
Yeah. And that's
It's about,
yeah.
it really, really is. And the beautiful cooking that you're going to help me do and add all these recipes as well with.
Once I
It,
have my kitchen, I will be putting up videos of, more because I've got quite a few ideas. And actually, I have a friend in India who's written a book on kids and how to, make nice, tempting food for them. And I will be interviewing her at some stage. But one more thing I wanted to also mention is supplementation. We have to be careful. I mean, I have a video already on how to choose supplements. Don't go out and buy the cheapest supplement. Don't go out and just, pick whatever. Look for the certification. Again, with supplements, look at the ingredients. What you've
Yeah.
got to give your body is telling your body how smart, recognizing how smart your body is. And if you give it a supplement that's not made from natural ingredients, your body isn't going to, all your child's body isn't going to absorb it. Giving them gummies and thinking, oh yeah, I've given them their vitamins for the day. Check the ingredients. I'm not saying all gummies are bad, the vitamin gummies.
No,
Just check the
many
ingredients.
are.
What's the
And the
certification?
of it, the
Yeah,
measurement of it. It's
yeah,
not right that I should be able to take the same amount as my son. I'm a
yeah,
female. I'm twice his
yeah,
size. Blah blah.
yeah,
It should be measurable.
yeah.
It should be measurable. It should be based on your, body type and your weights and absolutely.
The body
Coatings on
won't
some of those.
your body won't absorb it if it doesn't recognize it as food. It'll absorb a bit, like, okay, you think you're getting a cheap deal, you're taking it one end and it's coming out the other. It's having more of a placebo effect than what it is. I mean, like, we're very fortunate that we work with blood test based nutrition, but not everybody has that, and yeah. Be very careful with what you choose, who you go with, what you do. You are the gatekeeper, and this is what I always say: you are the gatekeeper. You choose what you do. Careful, do your research. Has it got, what kind of certification has it got? Where was it manufactured? What's in it? Be
Yeah.
careful.
It's the world has had to come to a point where so many people are sick, and we now need to start voicing
And we
that you
also,
can make yourself better.
yeah,
You
and we
you
also
can
have
make your own
power, the power of our
survivor.
pound, like where we spend our money is where they will then have to change their way of thinking. And I've noticed there is a lot of changes coming in. And it's because, like, for example, higher welfare chicken is now becoming more and more prolific. Sourdough bread is now available in so many places. It's because that's what people are looking for. So the power,
Yeah.
we do have the power. It's the power of our pound. Where we spend it is where they will then, companies are there to make money. They're not there to fill supermarket shelves. And if we're not lifting them off the supermarket shelves, guess what? They'll stop making it.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, very true, Shivi.
Okay, Kelly, it's been really interesting. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And of course, we're going to be back talking about other topics, and watch this space, as they say.
I'd love to. That'd be great. I've had a great time.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.